Hi everybody, it's Dawn and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Well, I'm actually in the hair salon this morning of the Amma Magna because it was a quiet place. I have a meeting this morning with the travel agents and we're learning all about Amma waterways and the experience so far on the ship has been terrific. Last night we ate in what's called the chef's table, but it's an actual dining restaurant. It's not an actual chef's table like where you would figure like 10 people are dining. And the food was so good, afterwards people gave the chef a standing ovation. So I'd say that's a pretty good recommendation so far on this cruise. Next, I gotta tell you about some news stories and some that kind of like shake my head about. So first off, we have Royal Caribbean has moved the Wonder of the Seas to Miami and is doing something I'm not a particular fan of, but we'll talk about that. We have the update on the MSC World Europa, which broke down and lost power on the way to Naples yesterday. We have a family that is suing Norwegian Cruise Line a year after an incident that happened during a port visit. We'll have to talk about that as well. So we have Royal Caribbean has moved the Wonder of the Seas now to Miami, and it is one of my favorite of the Oasis class ships. I really like the design of the ships and the things that they've done on it. However, they are now starting what they said they were going to do for most of the Oasis class ships, and they are going to 3 and 4 day cruises. Short cruises only out of Miami, which you know what that means. It's going to be more of a, hey, party atmosphere, a little cheaper in price than a 7-day cruise, and they're hoping to attract a younger crowd to those ships. Well, they might be attracting a younger crowd, but they might be attracting some issues. As we've seen lately, a lot of stuff has been happening with shorter cruises, and we don't particularly like the stories that come from some of them with the brawls and the fights and the stuff like that that's happening. So hopefully everything goes smoothly. I do love the ship, and the crew has always been great, and the entertainment, so let's hope it works out for Royal Caribbean. The World Europa, who broke down on the way to Naples yesterday, and the Coast Guard came out. They actually sent a helicopter out as well as 2 tugboats to check on the ship, make sure everything was good. Everybody was calm, nobody was panicking, they weren't in any danger. They weren't in an area with rough seas, or they weren't along a coastline that they could possibly drift ashore on. But the Coast Guard responded just to be safe, and the ship eventually did regain power. However, the ship did not arrive in their destination in Naples until 8 hours after its scheduled arrival time. 8 hours is a long time past your scheduled time. Now, it appears that the issue has been fixed, so it should not affect future cruises in what's happening, but let's hope this for other representatives don't happen anytime in the future as well for people going on the cruises on the MSC World Europa. But it's good to see that nothing dangerous happened to any of the passengers or anything like that. Next, let's talk about a lawsuit. A lawsuit is being given by a family who was on vacation, and they booked through Norwegian Cruise Line an excursion. Now, the excursion was to Horseshoe Bay, and it's described as an easy day. It is, the pink sand beaches. You can snorkel in the water if you wish, or just float in the water, or just relax on the sun. It's described as having, some cobblestones, but mostly level walking. So it's not described as like an uphill climb or a activity that requires a lot of movement. But tragedy struck when the father saw somebody being pulled out by the current, a female, and he swam out and rescued her. And while he rescued her from the current, unfortunately he got caught up in it and was pronounced unresponsive at the site. Some of the things that the family is saying that they did wrong is there was no warning about the possible undercurrents, heavy undercurrents in that area. They're saying because it was off season, not the peak cruising season and beach season, there were limited lifeguards. And in fact, on this day, there appeared to be no lifeguards on duty at the beach, as well as failing to report any possibilities of danger for the area. I'm of two mixed minds on this. One warning that probably should be on that excursion is that there was little or no lifeguards on duty. That makes a difference when you're traveling with a family. However, the cruise line is, when you book a beach excursion and you go swimming, there can be undercurrents anywhere. I've seen a story, quite literally, here in Canada, where they were in 2 feet of water and one child got swept up in an undercurrent. The child was 14 years old, so not only a small little child. And in 2 feet of water, the undertow current pulled them out into the water. So undercurrent can happen anywhere, anytime, and we all have to be aware of our own situation. It's really sad that this gentleman was actually rescuing somebody else when he tragically lost his life in this situation. But again, how much of it is the cruise line's responsibility? How much, if a cruise line was to list on every shore excursion every possibility of something that could happen. So, you have to be aware of the weather when you're in this area, because severe weather can cause this to happen. The tide levels can be like this, and those pages describing the cruise excursion would be like 55 pages long, and then no one's going to read it anyway. You want to have excursions where people read it so they know whether or not they can handle it. For instance, if it says it's a heavy activity with up and down hills and stairs and everything, and you have mobility issues, that's not an excursion for you. And to this day, I just came off the Sun Princess. We were on a heavy walking activity, and people showed up with walkers. And, they're not reading the excursion for simple things like that. Can you imagine if we made those sheets describing the excursions longer and longer and longer? So I don't know how much responsibility the cruise line should be held in this case. It's a tragedy. He was trying to be an actual hero and got caught. And that's the real sad part of this story. But let me know in the comments down below. What do you guys think? Do you think cruise lines need to be held more responsible for their excursions? Or do you think, hey, there's only so much information. We have to be responsible for our own actions a lot of the times, and we can't blame everything on everyone else. It's a really tough situation. Well, I hope you appreciate this update. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Want to see more tips, more tricks, more travel vlogs from around the world? Hit that subscribe button. Until next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation.